When will Jesus return, and what is taking so long? Those questions have been front of mind for Christian believers since the earliest days of the church. Question is raised in the New Testament. It's raised particularly in 2 Peter 3. Where is the promise of his coming? The question is asked. And since then, each generation has wrestled with that question. Some in each generation have expected Jesus to come in their lifetime. Some of us are probably there. Interesting thing about that is every generation that has expected Jesus to come in their lifetimes so far has been mistaken. We'll just put that on the table. Alternatively, there are others in the history of the church that seem to think maybe this project is going to go on rather a bit longer than any of us, if history is any indicator. Consider, for example, the building of cathedrals. We don't really do that anymore, but there was a period in the history of the church where they took it upon themselves to engage in cathedral building. And if you've ever visited one of the cathedrals and you've thought about how these structures were built before modern machinery by workers' hands, and perhaps you were on a historical tour and you discovered that some of them took centuries to build. Some more than 100 years, some more than 300 years or longer. And if you think about that, and if you think about the posture and sort of a Christian's expectation for the future, if you're setting out on a multiple century building campaign, think about that for a moment. Multiple century building campaign. Just let that sink in. If you're planning a project that's going to take more than your lifetime and more than several people's lifetimes to build a place of worship, it could be that you don't expect Jesus to come back in your lifetime. Otherwise, why would you embark on such a project? So there seem to be some different perceptions in the history of the church, which raises another question for us, doesn't it? When will Jesus return? And why shouldn't it take so long? These questions are front of mind in Revelation 7. They are questions raised in chapter 6 by the martyrs that John sees under the throne of God. How long, sovereign Lord, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood? How long until Jesus shows up and takes all the wrong things and makes them all right? How long until the dead are raised? How long until creation is made new? How long do we have to endure suffering and tribulation and pain and persecution? How long must we abide disease and death? How long, O Lord, holy and true? Even the dead in Revelation are impatient for the second coming. In that way, Revelation invites us, especially in chapter 7, to consider the question of the delay, particularly the delayed judgment. That's what the martyrs are eager to see. Come and judge. Make it right. Vindicate our shed blood. Revelation 7 invites us to consider the question of delayed judgment, but it also invites us to reflect on God's purposes in the delay. And in reflecting on his purposes, to also reflect on his character. And in reflecting on his character, to also reflect on our own. What will we find when we ask the question the martyrs ask? What's taking so long? As we do, we'll begin to discover that the triune God is eager to maximize the scope of redemption. And as we get clear on that, it will also become clear that judgment delayed is mercy extended. Judgment delayed means the scope of God's mercy finds this person here, that person there. And the way Revelation 7 puts it, a multitude that spans the nations.